I'm going to read you a long list of names based off the following question. We'll go through the list of names to any which that you answered yes to. We will come back to those after concluding the list. So from 2020 to present, so including post-administration, have you had a conversation about the president's health, age, or ability to be president of the United States with anyone on the following list? President Biden.
No.
First Lady Jill Biden.
No.
Hunter Biden.
You said pertaining to his health?
Health, age, or ability to be president of the United States.
In a sense, Hunter Biden.
How so? Well, we'll come back to that. Ashley Biden.
No.
Naomi Biden.
No.
Valerie Biden Owens.
No.
Vice President Harris.
No.
Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff.
No.
President Obama.
No.
President Clinton.
No.
Secretary Clinton.
No.
Annie Thomasini.
Yes.
Jeff Zients.
No.
Rahm Emanuel.
No.
Bill Daley.
No.
Jake Sullivan.
No.
Anita Dunn.
Yes.
Mike Donilon.
Yes.
Richard Stallber.
No.
Ed Siskel.
No.
Bruce Reed.
No.
Steve Rashetti.
Yes.
Jen O'Malley Dillon.
No.
Ashley Williams.
No.
Anthony Bernal.
No.
Neera Tanden.
I've spoken to her. I don't believe it was about these matters.
Dr. O'Connor.
No.
Kate Bedingfield.
Yes.
Jen Psaki.
I have spoken to her, but I don't believe it touched on this.
David Axelrod.
No.
Karine Jean-Pierre.
No.
Nancy Pelosi.
Actually, one caveat about Karine. We can address it later if you want, but I just want to volunteer that.
Okay. Nancy Pelosi.
No.
Chuck Schumer.
No.
Hakeem Jeffries.
No.
Any other senator?
No.
Any other member of the House of Representatives?
No.
Any member of the cabinet?
Yes.
Which member of the cabinet?
Dennis McDonough.
Any other members of the cabinet?
No.
So you answered yes to Hunter Biden. What was the extent of your conversation with Mr. Hunter Biden?
We had texted one another a little bit after some of the podcast interviews that he did.
And what were you discussing about those podcast interviews?
I don't remember in full, but they were mainly political observations.
And when did these conversations occur?
I don't know the date. They would have been subsequent to some of his podcast interviews.
Just to be clear, do you mean the podcast interviews that Mr. Biden was giving post-presidency? So this year?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Do you mind repeating the first question you asked about whether there were conversations with any of these folks, just to make sure that the witness has that in mind?
Yes, it's from 2020 to present, so including post-administration, have you had a conversation about the president's health, age, or ability to be president of the United States with anyone on the following list?
Thank you.
In those conversations with Hunter Biden, what did you discuss about the president's health, age, or ability to be president of the United States?
I don't remember the particulars, but it mainly had to do with discussing the political aftermath of the 2024 election.
as it related to the president's health, age, or ability to be president, or I'm not following how that answers the question.
Not his capacity to be president, but the effect that attacks related to age had been a factor in the campaign.
And what aspects of age were you talking about?
When critics of the president would make claims related to his age.
You also answered yes to Annie Thomasini. When did you speak to Ms. Thomasini?
The most recent time would have been earlier this year. I believe it was after the announcement of the president's cancer diagnosis.
Did you discuss anything about his health or age or his ability to be president, or just that he had gotten a cancer diagnosis?
I was expressing sympathy when I learned about the diagnosis.
And no other conversations with Ms. Thomasini?
And I'm sorry, could you repeat the time period?
From 2020 to present.
Yes, I spoke with her when we were working in the White House together.
And what were those conversations?
It had to do with the way in which the president was performing his duties well.
You never expressed, or she never expressed to you, any concerns about the president's mental abilities?
No.
What prompted the conversation with Ms. Thomasini about the president's ability to do his job well?
Media inquiries that had to do with criticism from political opponents.
Why was it your inclination to speak with Ms. Thomasini about media criticisms or inquiries about the president's age or health?
It is typical in most organizations where I have worked to brief senior staff on coverage that you are fielding questions related to.
Would you go to Ms. Thomasini to brief her on other matters?
Yes.
And maybe Ms. Thomasini did not answer a lot of questions when she came before this committee, so maybe I don't understand her exact role to its fullest extent, but why not, a Mr. Zients or a Mr. Rashetti? Why particularly did you go to Ms. Thomasini for that?
I did not say that I went to her in particular.
Okay. But you did go to her, you did speak with her about the president's health or ability to do the job. So why were you speaking with Ms. Thomasini about that in particular?
For one thing, it was normal to give someone of her station awareness of a wide variety of major stories that covered many different topics. Also, media inquiries tended to involve what it was like to work with the president, and she worked with the president closely.
How often did you brief Ms. Thomasini
In what respect?
about press?
Frequently.
Every week?
I don't know the exact rhythm of it, but I would frequently brief her about press.
And who did you report to?
Initially Jen Psaki, then Karine Jean-Pierre.
Thank you.
You also answered yes to Anita Dunn. When was the most recent time you spoke to Ms. Dunn?
It would have been earlier this year.
January, February, can you guesstimate a little bit better? I won't hold you to an exact date.
I'm not sure, but probably in the first quarter of the year, maybe the second.
And what did you discuss?
We discussed sorry, my phone is vibrating. We discussed the impact of the 2024 election on American politics. During the administration, she was another person whom I would regularly brief about coverage.
And regularly brief, daily, weekly.
More than weekly when she was working in the White House. And that is coverage on a very wide array of different subjects.
Would that include coverage on President Biden's age and mental health?
Yes.
And what were those conversations?
It would involve me telling her about a reporter inquiry or a media narrative, and we would discuss those.
You also answered in the affirmative to Mike Donilon. When did you most recently speak to Mr. Donilon?
It would have been the first quarter of the year, I believe.
And what did you discuss?
He had called me regarding news about a book by Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson.
And what did you discuss about the book?
He asked for my assessment of the best way to handle media coverage of the book.
Did you ever speak with Mr. Donilon about President Biden's age or mental acuity while in the White House?
Yes.
And what were those discussions?
Mike Donilon worked with the president closely, and he would attest to the president's high performance.
Were these also frequent meetings between you and Mr. Donilon?
Less frequent than with Anita Dunn. And I would also talk with him about a very wide range of subjects.
You also answered in the affirmative to Steve Rashetti. When was the most recent time you spoke with Mr. Rashetti?
It was earlier this year. I don't remember exactly when. Maybe 2 months ago.
And what did you discuss?
I don't remember what we last discussed. Our last interaction was a phone call.
I can't remember if it was anything relating to President Biden's age, mental acuity, general health.
I don't believe that it was.
Have you ever spoken with Mr. Rashetti about President Biden's age,
Yes.
health? Tell us about those conversations.
Very similar to the kinds of conversations I would have with Mike Donilon. They would also involve the president's legislative agenda because Steve did a lot of work with the Hill.
And how frequently did you communicate with Mr. Rashetti about the president's health, mental acuity, and age?
Every so often. Most of our conversations were about legislative issues.
And just so I'm clear, and you might have said this, when you say that the conversations regarding President Biden's health or age were similar to those with Mr. Donilon, I believe you said that you had spoken with Mr. Donilon about Mr. Tapper and Mr. Thompson's book. So I'd like to just ask the question: Have you had other conversations with Mr. Donilon about President Biden's health, age, or ability to do the job?
Yes, of the sort that we were talking about a moment ago, that Mr. Donilon worked closely with President Biden, and he would often talk about how well the president was performing, would give anecdotes.
And with these conversations with either Mr. Donilon or Mr. Rashetti, were you asking questions of them, or were you just filling them in on what the media was saying?
It was prompted by media inquiries, or related media needs. So I would inform them about a reporter's interest, and we would discuss the nature of the inquiry.
And I appreciate that. And when you say that you would discuss it, would you ask questions? Steve, is the president able to do his job? Is the president, going to sleep earlier? Anything along those? Did you ask questions to either Mr. Rashetti or Mr. Donilon?
I would ask questions that mainly relayed what reporters were asking me to get their input.
Do you remember any of the questions that you asked? I'm not verbatim, but can you give us an idea of the nature that reporters were asking you that you would then relay to either Mr. Rashetti or Mr. Donilon?
The questions could have to do with political strategy, about how to respond to attacks on the president that had to do with age, or if a reporter brought a particular claim about an alleged meeting or other kind of work event, I would go to them if they had knowledge of said event.
But specifically about the president's age, health, or ability to do the job, did you ever ask questions about the underlying concern, or were you mostly asking questions about how to respond in a political sense or pushback?
It was mainly questions that surrounded what the reporter was asking me and then what they felt would be the best way to respond.
You also answered in the affirmative to Neera Tanden. When was the most recent time you spoke to Ms. Tanden?
The most recent time I spoke to her would have been within recent weeks.
And what did you discuss?
We talked about congressional redistricting.
And did you have conversations with Ms. Tanden about President Biden's age, mental acuity, his overall health?
Yes.
And what were the substance of those conversations?
She told me, also in the context of dealing with reporter questions, about her experience speaking about policy with President Biden.
And her experience of policy with President Biden, meaning working on a policy agenda or shaping certain legislative actions, that kind of thing?
Yes.
And did you have more direct conversations about the president's health, his age, his mental acuity?
Similar to what we've discussed with Mr. Donilon, Mr. Rashetti, it had to do with me communicating things said by reporters and then talking with her about elements of her experience that would be relevant to demonstrating the president's work ethic and abilities.
And just so I'm clear, are we talking about the time frame post-presidency or during President Biden's presidency?
During.
Thank you.
And how frequently would you speak with Ms. Tanden about these topics?
Intermittently, not very often.
Less so than Mr. Donilon or Mr. Rashetti or Ms. Dunn?
Yes, because those individuals had wider portfolios.
And when you were speaking with Ms. Tanden about these topics, was it over the course of her entire stint at the White House? I know she held several positions. So I'm wondering in what context you were having those conversations, if it was when she was staff secretary or when she was head of the DPC.
I only remember this occurring when she was the head of the DPC.